Imagine being 12 weeks pregnant and struggling with relentless vomiting that robs you of sleep. Your doctor prescribes zolpiclone or Lunesta to help you get through the nights. And at first it works, but by 7 months, something feels terribly wrong. Severe neurological symptoms begin to surface, blinding pain, ringing in your ears, a choking sensation, and cognitive problems. You try and stop the medication, but it only makes things worse. Unfortunately, you've developed a variant of bind or protracted benzodiazepine withdrawal at the worst possible time. Now, with just 2 months until your baby is due, your health is deteriorating rapidly and you're trapped in a nightmare. Stay tuned to hear from Chanika, who hails from Thailand, to hear about her harrowing story of survival, resilience, and hope. So, Chanika, how did you end up on zolpiclone to begin with?
I was suffering from severe morning sickness. A lot of people call hyperemesis, which happens in about 2 to 3% of pregnancy. So very severe, like dehydration, and I couldn't keep the food down. Everything triggers the sensation, like the smell, the taste, like I couldn't take anything. And I was suffering from the heart palpitation and other physical symptoms from pregnancy, from the hyperemesis, which the doctor chose to prescribe me zolpiclone. And I didn't know much about the sleeping pills back then. So I had no idea about the sleeping pills. And so pretty much I was naive to say that I didn't know that it can be addictive. It can be you have to rely on it or any other side effect that's not meant to the pregnancy. The pregnant people shouldn't be taking that. So yeah. Anyway, so I took it around the late first trimester because I couldn't handle, like I couldn't keep the food down. I couldn't sleep. But which I feel that back then the doctor could have given me other type of medication, other groups of medication, not zolpiclone.
Was it effective? Was this helpful for you at the time?
It was. It in the way. Because I was starting to feel really like high heartbeat, like very like heart palpitation. So at that time, taking zolpiclone kind of helped bringing down my heart rate and stabilize it a little bit at the time of taking it. So I was able to go to sleep, but I never really liked the feeling of taking that. Even though at that time I didn't know what was happening to me, it was making me feel like brain fog when waking up. I had a really like strange, vivid dreams that I never had it before. Constant, vivid dreams, like almost every night. Wow. I could wake up with like an altered state feeling. So I didn't know what was happening, but the dreams and never felt like I had a restorative sleep when I wake up. Back then when I was taking zolpiclone. And after that, I knew later, I didn't know back then, but I knew later that at about 4 o'clock in the evening, bang on time, I would suffer from interdose withdrawal. So the body is craving for the drug, and it shows all the withdrawal symptoms that you could have had. For example, heart palpitation comes back, but it's stronger. and the craving that I wanted to take the drug, but I didn't know that. I always take the drug at about 7 o'clock in the evening. So I would wait till 7 o'clock. But from 4 o'clock onwards, I would not feel well. I would be lying in bed, just waiting for the time that I can take it and then go to sleep. So I was suffering pretty much like almost all of the day. So in the morning, brain fog.
Walk us through that a little bit, just so we can track that. What started to happen to make you realize that you needed to come off the drug? I think you've started sharing that already, but maybe you could just kind of expand on your thinking and how you arrived at the point where, it's time to come off.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the beginning, from the date I took it, and until probably about 7 months pregnant, I misunderstanding the symptoms. I thought that it was due to the hyperemesis or the severe morning sickness. So I thought it's part of it, like the heart palpitation and not being able to sleep, and the tiredness, needing to be in bed all the time, and then like very emotional roller coaster in the morning. So I misdiagnosed myself pretty much. I thought that it was due to the morning sickness until at 7 months pregnant, I went to the chemist to pick up the pills by myself. And obviously I was showing already, and the pharmacist asked me, is that for you? And I was, yes. And she said, oh, it's really bad for the baby. So I was quite shocked by the pharmacist to say that. And so I started to have a conversation with her, and obviously I started to freak out and come home and research and do like a very quick research, because I was freaking out, and come to the conclusion that, oh my gosh, it's bad for the baby. I don't want it into my system anymore. I want it to come off. And then obviously there's not much information about how to come off Zopiclone or Z drug or benzodiazepine safely. Like I didn't get into the community at that time, so I was getting like a surface level of the information how to come off, and I feel like I that time I knew that, oh my gosh, this type of drug means that I have to depend on it for the rest of my life, and I hate the feeling of it. I don't like it to my life to be like that. I don't like to tie myself into the drug that if I don't take it today, myself would go into something, like if I travel, then I have to take the pills with me, or if I get older, I have to keep going to the doctor to get prescription. I'm like, I don't want to be in this jail. I want to be free from it, after learning about the nature of the drug. And plus I didn't want to hurt the baby, so I just want to come off as soon as possible. And that's when it started, the journey. Yeah.
Tell us about the journey off the medication.
The journey of the medication. So
tapering off it, like how did you go about coming off it at the start? At
the start, like I said, even though when I wasn't tapering, I was feeling sensitive to noises, I was having anxiety, I was having like brain fog. Sorry, I'm just seeing my notes at the same time. And 4 p.m. interdose withdrawal. I couldn't cook. I couldn't just walk to the park. It's really weird. But that was kind of like mild. I didn't make a notice until I decided to come off the drug. And so I cut like 25% of the prescription dose. So like one tablet of Sopiclone. So I cut like 25% right that day. And I plan to hold for about 2 weeks. And the symptoms starting to ramp up. The acute withdrawal started to ramp up every day. And I thought, I'm going to have to, like, I feel like I should be better. I should be better as the day passed, but I didn't feel better, but I was getting worse. I was deteriorating. I couldn't eat a piece of toast, like half a piece of toast. It took me about half an hour to finish it. Maybe I can't finish it because I was feeling like someone was grabbing my throat. Like I couldn't bring it down. The brain fog. I would wake up and cry uncontrollably. Like I can't control myself. I just need to cry. And I had a very severe anxiety during that 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
After I cut 25% off, like that 2 weeks that I was holding on the dose. Flu-like symptoms, sweating. I would wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning and had what they call the cortisol surge, where I involuntarily just have anxiety upon waking up, and I'll be like, every time I wake up, I jolt like that.
Let me jump in for a moment, just for our listeners out here, to provide some context to what's happening now. I know I've just heard at the start of your story, Chanika, but what it sounds like is that you've developed bind or benzodiazepine-induced neurological dysfunction, or some people call it protracted withdrawal when it begins after reducing the medication. But in your situation, what I'm hearing is that while you were on the drug, you were already developing neurological dysfunction, because if you were having light sensitivity and interdose withdrawal, these are unusual side effects of the drug. These are signs to me that already we're having some kind of neurological damage going on. And Chanika hasn't even touched the drug at this point. Now, the reason why, when she starts to come off of it, that she experiences such severe withdrawal symptoms, morning cortisol surges and all of that, is because her nervous system was already hurt at that point, for reasons that likely are just due to, unlucky genetics, because a lot of people this doesn't happen to. She had been hurt while just being on the drug, not even changing it. And she was so sensitive that when she started coming down, the symptoms got worse. So far, that's what I'm hearing in the story, and I imagine the rest of the withdrawal is probably going to be quite challenging.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So it was to the point that I thought that I was going to die. Like I'm not like this at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my journey then, after that, I confronted with the doctor that prescribed me Sopiclone, and luckily he was sort of wanting to work with me on how to make it right. It come to surprise me, though, that a lot of doctors, GPs, have no idea how this type of drug could do to their patients. Like they prescribe it out really easily, like candies. Yeah. Anyway, so I was working with my doctor who prescribed me Sopiclone. We had some back and forth discussion about what's the best way to come off because I really want to come off. So he suggested diazepam to cross over to diazepam. Yeah. So at that time, I was already getting hold of a lot of information. I was trying to do like very extensive research about how am I going to do this. I get hold of Ashton Manual. I read the whole lot of Ashton Manual and trying to understand this. I got into Benzo Buddies, the organization, where there's a forum that you can go look through, like when people posting things and their questions and answers and journeys and success stories and things like that. Also, the Facebook group Beating Benzo. That's the place of the supporting place where I can go into and ask about something, and people would share about their journey as well, and maybe give me some advice about things around withdrawing benzo. So I had like quite a solid information to confront with my doctor at the time, and I told him that this is how I wanted to do it. This is how I want to do it. So coming off diazepam by my own pace. And then I put it on the spreadsheet, like Excel spreadsheet, because I'm a little bit of a nerd. Put it in the Excel spreadsheet to show him that here, this is my plan. How am I going to do it? And so he agreed to prescribe me diazepam. But I didn't taper off straight away because I was already in acute withdrawal, or binds, as you said. So it was very challenging to cross over. It was very challenging to keep a faith to myself that it's going to get better. So diazepam did a good job in helping me sort of like, instead of a roller coaster feeling of Zopiclone, it sort of goes a bit mellower.
What I'll jump in and share is that so Zopiclone has a much shorter half-life, and so you get larger fluctuations of the drug in your serum. And so you get this drug is working, drug is not working, on-off type of effect. And when you have bind, or you have an unstable nervous system, that on-off that's going on can be experienced as very destabilizing to go into interdose withdrawal as the drug leaves your system. But diazepam, and why it's, or Valium, why it's the drug commonly suggested to be used for tapers with these short half-life drugs. Why they like using that one is because it has a really long half-life, several weeks for the drug to leave your system. And so if you take it, you get very stable levels of the drug, and people can feel, especially if you have an unstable nervous system, people feel a lot more comfortable on a drug with a long half-life. And that may have been why that helped you.
Yes, I feel, yes, it is definitely. I'm starting to feel more stable. It took a lot of time to feel more stable, though I was still feeling that, but not as intensive as it was before. And then I had to wait until I gave birth, because by the time that I was stabilizing, I was almost like 9 months pregnant. So I had to wait to give birth first. And then I decided myself that I was going to wait until 2 months after giving birth, just for my hormone to stabilize first, because after giving birth, like all the pregnancy hormone is just swinging up and down, and then so I didn't want to risk being more emotional.
What was it? What was that like to go through childbirth with bind?
It's very traumatic to me. Yeah. It was very,
Yeah.
very one of the most traumatic life event for me. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, all the symptoms I was experiencing, plus the childbirth and the worries, and I had to time it right as well because I had to take the drug, and yeah, it was because drug, because when I switched to diazepam, I was more disconnected and depressed straight away. Like I felt drugged a whole day. So I had to time it right, giving birth, because if I take the drug, then I'll be so sedated, and
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I was scared that I won't be able to be in control of myself. So I ended up using the induction, the chemical induction, just for me to get through it before I'm due to take the drug. So that was very traumatic for me. But and I did had to pray a lot as well, for my for my baby to be okay and not be affected by the drug, because there's a mixed information from mums who were taking benzodiazepine with a clonopin or diazepam or what have you, and a lot of them were very supportive, and they come and give me support and say that your baby is going to be okay. I've had it before. It's going to be okay. And then there are some moms that came in and say like, "Oh my gosh, my baby came out and there's such and such problems and complications." So yeah, so it was like
because I guess because one of the risks is because the drug crosses the Valium would cross the placenta, and so I guess some children may experience withdrawal in the days after childbirth. Did anything like that happen with your child?
I can't actually pinpoint, to be honest. Very luckily, he's fine. I think he's fine, but he came out quite sedative. But that's baby, right? Like on first day, it's like you can't really pinpoint if it's due to the drug or if it's due to the nature of the baby. But then he would have a little bit of a problem sleeping. He would like wake up and cry randomly. But then again, like, is it the baby's nature or if it's a drug? So I don't really want to. But but apart from that, I was monitoring him. So he didn't have like my symptoms, so to say. So he has a little bit of like hand shaking a little bit, maybe in the first month or something, here and there randomly. But I asked the midwife, and she said it's normal for the baby to have like mouth like goes shaking a little bit, trembling a little bit. Yeah, it's just random, like comes and go. So I don't know if it's due to just the baby itself or if it's due to the drug. But that symptoms is gone like after first few months. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so I know you left the tapering alone for the first couple of months after your son was born. Just give a recap. How were you feeling during that time? What were the symptoms that you were experiencing? Like, what was a day like for you with all of this after your son was born?
Yes. So I was already experiencing the binds where it's starting to stabilize, but I feel like I was at the time what comes in adding up was the side effect of diazepam, where the brain fog comes in and sedative feeling, feeling drugged all the time, felt like disconnected to the world, and very really bad depression symptoms, because I had depression before, so I know what it was like. But I had depression, and then I healed from it, so to say. So I knew what it was like to have a depression. So I know that it hit me straight away. But it was like a chemical depression. I couldn't shake it off after a certain period of time. And also what added up at that time, the third thing was that because I was starting to take diazepam for many months, I started to develop a tolerance to diazepam. I feel so I would I would be very anxious and cry every day. I started to cry every day again, and it's pretty much like a withdrawal with symptoms. But I didn't start withdrawing. I didn't start taper, but I starting to having that tolerance feeling to the drug while I was holding on to the dose for that 2 months postpartum. Yeah. So it was very challenging. It was very a mix of everything coming in together, and
the bind, the effects of the Valium making you feel depressed and sedated, and then the developing tolerance to it. Before we hit record, I know you were mentioning that. I mean, there were times that you were, wishing that you weren't even around anymore because you were so uncomfortable. What were the worst symptoms for you? The ones that you felt to be the most intolerable?
It would be the anxiety, the chemical anxiety, that waking up with with fear and anxiety, and every mornings I would get into depression, brain fog, like someone was squeezing my head, and I need to cry. Like I'm by nature I'm pretty calm, like what you can see how I talk. But that time I just couldn't control myself. I would cry and cry and cry, and I couldn't even reason myself to not cry, and the feeling of disconnected to the world. So I think it was like the neurological symptoms that I was experiencing, and the emotional, mental symptoms. The mental symptoms really, really, I think that the both of them was kind of like the heart palpitation. I think it's all together was like bombarding with physical, emotional, and mental all together, and it was just too much.
What I hear a lot of the people describe who have bind or even antidepressant protracted withdrawal is, just very similar to what you mentioned, a severe amount of never-ending anxiety where you constantly feel like afraid and fearful and like something terrible is happening. And then on top of that, you have cognitive dysfunction. You can't think clearly. You can't focus. You can't concentrate. So cognitively, it's not working. And it's that combination of the severe, never-ending anxiety, never feeling like you can relax, and not being able to think clearly. It makes people feel like they're losing their mind. They constantly say, I feel like I'm going crazy. And then when you get that on top of your body has stopped working, your ears are ringing and your heart is beating out of control. People also say, it feels like I'm dying, that there's something terrible is happening to my body. And it's one of the scariest things that you can go through, to have that kind of neurological widespread damage.
Yeah, exactly. That's what how you describe it. It's actually what's happened to me. Just constant anxiety, severe anxiety. I love going for a walk. I love being independent. I would normally myself. I would catch a plane and then go anywhere by myself. But being in that state, I had to think about 2 or 3 days if I wanted to drive myself to the post shop 3 minutes down the road. I couldn't make myself to do it. I was so afraid, and I don't know why, just to get my leg out of the front door, like my one leg out of the front door. I was so scared. It was surreal. Like I couldn't even understand now, but I'm better now. But yeah, back then was, and then the vertigo, it could come and go anywhere. It was like a mix of a bag. It's almost like, here's the bag of the symptoms that you can have today, and then someone will pick something and then throw it at you, and then you kind of like, there's uncertainty there, like what's going to happen to me today. I couldn't even like go to like family functions and anything like that. Just really hard. And also like the noises, like if someone was to drop a pen, which will be really minimal noise, but I would jump. So
the other question I wanted to ask you is, what was the impact that this had on your family?
Yes, I've discussed with my husband today of how he felt, and we reflect on that, and we agreed that it drifted us apart very badly. It drifted us apart. There's a gap between us, between me and my husband, between me and my children. I couldn't connect to my children. I couldn't stand them being around me. Like, that was so sad. It was the saddest thing. One of the saddest thing in this journey is that all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, I couldn't connect with my children, and I don't want to be around them, and I hate them being around me. And at the same time, I was conscious enough that I wanting to make an effort to be around them, but at the same time, when they are around me, I felt really anxious and griefs and anxiety and mix of emotions and physical feeling as well. Yeah. Also financially, because I wasn't well, and it put the strain onto my husband financially and physically, because he had to look after the kids, where I'm kind of sick, bedridden sort of situation. Yeah, it was really hard.
Tell us, let me ask you this. Have you recovered from bind at the moment? Are you still enduring ongoing symptoms right now?
Comparing between that acute time at the beginning of the story with now.
Could you tell me how long ago was that, like roughly, just in months?
From when I started tapering?
Let's say from when you started taking the drug.
Sobiklon. Yeah. I started to take the Sobiklon on early July 23. So
okay, all right.
Yeah. So
it's like 18 months-ish.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I have been tapering today is my 277 days. From the first day I started tapering from Diazepam. How do I feel right now? Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Do you want to continue? Yeah. If I was to compare it day by day, I wouldn't feel the difference. I wouldn't feel much of the difference. But I am here now. You can see me. I can talk to you. I can hold the conversation. Whereas before, when I was having bind symptoms, I couldn't hold a conversation. It was really hard for me to hold a conversation. But now I would say if that was to be 90% of the severity, I would rate myself right now 10, 20%.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to be sitting here and talking to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
What helped you survive this? Because some people they get really, they become suicidal during this, and then they want to give up. How did you survive what had happened to you?
I really do understand people who had that thought or who did that. I really understand that because I experienced that before, not doing it, but have the idea of it. So it's not easy to get through each day. My husband said to me that, yes, you were saying every day that you didn't want to leave. You didn't want to leave. Like you didn't. Yeah, we discussed about it yesterday, today, about the whole thing, and he said that like when I was really like severely suffering from that, I had to say to him every day that I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I don't know. It's really hard. So that was one thing, having a partner, someone who could listen to me, even though I had that idea, but I had someone who can be there and listen to me, understand me. My kids, being a mother, the kids are the most important thing in life, and without them, I don't know why would I want to be surviving in this world. So that's very strong reason I have to stay alive for them. I don't know how, but I would want to do everything that I can to stay alive for them. Also, I wrote, I'm going to show you, it's really nerdy, but I'd have my book and I would write down all the quotes that I search on the internet, just to give me the hope, the quote about the hope, the quote about faith, belief, the quote about the power within me. I don't know, you name it, all the things that I can find to cheer me up. The next chapter of our life or something like that. It's very corny, but it helped. Like I would have it down here, and this is my the tapering table. So when I write down each day, I would read this as well. Yeah. Just like, for example, embrace uncertainty, because some of the most of beautiful chapters in our lives won't have a title until much later. That's, for example. Yeah. And what else? The feeling that I'm telling myself that one day at a time, just one day at a time, not tomorrow, not 2 days at a time, just one day at a time. But if you can't stand one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. If you can't stand 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time. If you wake up tomorrow and you're still breathing, you win. Like that's all I can do. And also, to me, it's a spiritual test as well, because there's nothing that can help you but yourself. No one and nothing can help you but yourself. And so you gotta have to believe in yourself that you have power to do that. Even though you can't see it right now, but if you believe in yourself that you can do that, even another 5 minutes, then you win the situation. Also, have faith, believe in the power of the universe. I'm not trying to talk religious. I'm saying like in the energy of the universe. Just believe, just have faith that anything that happens, it's always good, and it's always a reason for it. So I have to think in the bigger picture. It was not easy because I was in a state of like a constant state of fright mode all the time. It was not easy to be in that state of mind that you can be peace within yourself. But even if one day you have a blink of an eye of thinking something like that positively or empowering, of faith, just a pure faith, like blind faith for yourself, even for a minute, then it gave me that courage to keep going. So it's a mix of everything that I mentioned.
Okay. Chanika, is there anything that I haven't asked you about which you would like to share with the audience listening?
I'd like to share that I was using the water tapering method from the beginning, because I was lucky enough that I wasn't starting tapering at the higher dose. I feel sorry for a lot of people who are on a higher dose already. So I was lucky enough that I was on the kind of like a minimal dose, and so I was starting with this water tapering method. For myself, I felt that it helped me because I can be in control of how I want to do it, and when, and how fast, how slow. And I want to share that because it's quite gentle. For me, I know it's not for everyone, but for me, it was quite gentle for myself. And I think self-paced tapering is the key. Like, yourself, when to hold, when to speed up, when to slow down. So that helped me. And it's not a race. Like a lot of people trying to go as fast as they can, and then the symptoms that come discouraging them to stop tapering.
You're so right. Like, after you develop bind, finishing the taper faster does not mean you heal quicker. It's two different things, because the bind, it's almost like a traumatic brain injury or a severe concussion. It just heals itself gradually over time. But then the reason that you do the slow withdrawal is because when you have one of these brain injuries, you're so sensitive to changes, so you can't just abruptly lower the medication, because it will make you feel very unwell. You get acute withdrawal. And sometimes it even makes the protracted injury worse as well if you taper too quickly. And so just like you say, it's not a race. It has, from my perspective, it has nothing to do with healing faster from the symptoms, especially when they're just due to the neurological problems. So I wholeheartedly agree with that, what you're saying at the moment.
Yeah. And I want to add that even though, like, this is what I tell myself, like, at the moment I'm reducing 0.01 milligram every 2 days. But I tell myself, even though it looks very, very, very like nothing, but I tell myself that even if it's just 0.01 milligram every 2 days, I'm still reducing. So I'm still progressing. So it's like, that's, because as I'm coming lower to the lower dose, I know a lot of people would know that it's a bit more challenging. So I have to adjust to the taper plan as well. And another thing that I really want to say to people is that you have to stuck with the plan that you know is going to work for you, and write the plan and have a solid plan and present that in front of the doctor if you really want to, if you need a support for the doctor to give you the prescription to come off. I don't know, some people don't do that. Some people just sort of like tapering off by themselves and not talking to the doctors. I'm not sure about that one, but for me, I feel like when you're in control, when you know that what you want, what your body needs, and have a solid evidence of what you want, and stuck with it, and confronting the doctor that this is what I want. I think that's really important, and not letting them telling you to, like, oh, here, you're going to have to cut a quarter every 2 weeks and then you'll be done by 6 weeks. Like, it didn't feel right to me at that time. So it might not work for everyone, but for me, I feel that helped me to be here where I am right now. Also, another thing that I really want to add is that this is what I've been looking for when I was trying to find the information online. But I wanted to add that there is something good coming out of this experience. The takeaway from my traumatic experience and the whole thing is that it teach me to cherish the time that we have with our family and not taking things for granted, because something could take it away from you, like, easily, like from the benzodiazepine or what have you. And also, like, I learned to see people in different ways, like, have more empathy for other people, like, somehow some people are going through some sort of suffering, like I do, because what I mean is that with the binds, you're not hurt physically, like you're not like a cut on your skin, but it's a brain injury where people see from the outside and they think that, oh, you're right. Why are you acting like this? Why are you acting weird? Why are you not socializing? And things like that, where you are actually suffering inside internally, and people don't see that. And that's kind of like another perspective for me to be able to have an empathy for other people, where it's like, okay, maybe some people like are suffering inside their head, their mind, their body. It's another takeaway that I really want to share.
Okay. Well, from what I've heard from your story, and I think this is probably the most positive prognostic thing, is that it's been about 18 months and you are 80% improved from where you were. What I often tell my patients in my practice is that the trajectory is really what's important when it comes to healing. And I would say that things are looking really good for you, that this is going to go away, and probably not in that much longer, because if it's most people I see are substantially better within 2 years, and just at the rate at which you're improving, I think that's going to be you. And so I think you have so much to be hopeful for, and in terms of getting back your health and all of that. And so I would feel really hopeful if I was you, Chanika.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much for calling in all the way from Thailand to share your story.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I hope that my story would give some people, a hope to kind of be free from this drug if they wish to. And thank you for giving me space to share my story as well, Joseph.
Yeah. If you're interested in hearing another story about protracted benzodiazepine withdrawal, you won't want to miss this story where a gentleman shares how he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars caring for his wife with severe protracted withdrawal.